the solution that's proposed isn't written, it's written as a question, but I'm going to first propose the solution, which is we get more people from the younger generation involved in the community building process. And the question is, how would you propose to attract and integrate the younger generation to be involved in the community?
Don't show them, what it takes.
Let them think that the decision they make today is actually going to happen. Other thoughts about how to engage?
I think if I had the answer to that question, I probably would still be an editor at the Sentinel. Getting young people engaged is the most difficult thing there is. And with reading patterns being what they are, the average age, I don't know what it is now, but in the last readership survey we did at the Sentinel, the average age of the newspaper reader was 59 years old. And so there are new ways of communication. But
I'm older than the average. Thanks a lot.
But it's getting older. They may have caught up with you. But I think the difficulty is engaging. There are ways to do it. What my fear is that ways of engaging are to go to the scandalous and the cynical and to get noticed. I think that's the big challenge that we have. I don't know about the rest of you, but when I was in my 20s, I wasn't really into nuance myself, and I think that's just part of growing up.
Good.
Actually, I think one of the strengths of Santa Cruz is that this is a community that's very easy to get engaged in. It's the reason I stayed when I came here in '72, is that this was a community, all you had to do was be willing to work a little bit to be engaged in the community. So I think that's, I find that it's thrilling, quite frankly, to go to some of the new organizations and realize that I'm in a room full of people, none of whom I know at all. These are all new faces, and that makes me very hopeful about the future.
Look, can I admit,
I've always thought people should just stay home.
You wouldn't be retiring if they were going to stay home, would you?
I want to amend my remarks because there's a little cynical what I had to say, and there is through the I see a couple people from Santa Cruz Next and some of the younger people that are engaged. So it does exist. I think it just has to be built upon and appreciated when it exists, and I think it does exist in Santa Cruz. So I didn't mean to be quite so flat.
So here is sort of the ultimate question, and this doesn't actually propose an answer, but it is the ultimate question, which is how do we create a vision for what we want and then empower the leadership to make the changes that are needed to get us there?
Say it again.
How do we create a vision for what we want as a community and then empower the leadership to make the changes needed to get us there? And they list examples of, for instance, rebuilding La Bahia, something that was included in plans. How long ago, Ted? Were you born when they started talking about... a long time ago they started talking about La Bahia, and it was included in a variety of general plans. Expanding charter schools using PCS as a model. I'm sure we can get a rise out of somebody here about that. But I think the point is, once we come to a vision as a community, then how do we turn the implementation of the vision over to the people that are going to make it happen?
I don't know that a dictator would have a good time with that. You could decide what our vision is. China seems to be doing a pretty good job of going in a direction. So I think you have to really accommodate democracy. But I think what you have to do is somehow, again, get back to the form of the debate in which how do you frame a question? Because I don't expect that someone who lives next door to a big hotel being built is ever going to support that hotel, even though it may be the best thing for the city. But I think that there can be an improvement in the way information is provided and sent out to show that it, in other words, to frame a debate is as important as deciding what the end result is going to be before it happens.
Anybody else want a shot?
You know, if there's anything I've learned over the years, it's that the elected officials in our county are in really close touch with the larger public. I think they could tell you rather precisely how any given issue would poll, and they'd be right on target way more often than not. Just the process of serving in office produces that outcome, and I have an enormous regard for the collective intelligence of elected officials in terms of knowing the people in their community. And the purpose of meeting is not mostly to make decisions. It's mostly to generate decisions that will enjoy public consent and hopefully even support, if not more than consent. And so I think the community has changed a good deal in this economy, and of late. I think the public is a different public than it was 20 years ago. And I think the products at local government reflect that. They're not always, unanimous, but I think they reflect it. I think they reflect it in many ways. I think if you look at the emphases that we see, you don't see it in words. You don't see it in words that say, okay, here's the new consensus and here's a new vision, and you don't make it intellectually explicit. But I think you see it in many ways, in an evolving and changing set of priorities and objectives. So I think we actually do that reasonably well. I think it would be helpful to articulate it better. And it would be hugely helpful if the center were strengthened and if the most